Welcome back. It's time now to take a look at the top business stories. Emirates, Etisalat and DP World in top 100 firms driving global economy. Emaar to manage 5 new hotels over the next 4 years. And we have a special report from the Abu Dhabi Innovation Forum. The GCC markets ended mainly positive today, but the UAE bourses, they ended mixed. The DFM rose 1.6% to close at 1,630 points. The property sector posted gains today as Emaar Properties rose over 2% and Arab Tech was up 2.75%. Dubai Islamic Bank rose over 1.75%. DU was up over 5.25% and DP World gained 2.25%. 129 million shares were traded, valued at 197 million dirhams. And over in the capital, the ADX was down 0.3% to close at 2,674 points. In the banking sector, Abu Dhabi Commercial Bank was up nearly 1.5% and Abu Dhabi Islamic Bank fell 1%. The property sector posted losses as Alder Properties fell 3.5% and Suru Real Estate dropped 2%. Etisalat fell 1%. 45 million shares were traded, valued at 88 million dirhams. And now it is time to take a look at the GCC markets, which ended mixed today. Coming up now, let's take a look at currencies against the dirham, followed by the price of oil and precious metals. Airlines, Etisalat and DP World are amongst the top 100 companies driving the world's economy. That's according to a US consultancy firm. The Boston Consultancy Group cited the 3 UAE companies as some of the fastest rising stars in the emerging markets, with each having both a strong local and global presence. 2,500 global companies with at least $1 billion in revenues were shortlisted and whittled down to a top 100 list. Boston Consulting Group stated that Dubai World was the strongest piece of the puzzle and also that the overall economic state of the Middle East had improved rapidly and remains a region with high potential. The UAE's largest property developer, Emaar Properties, is planning to manage 5 new hotels under the Address Hotel umbrella over the next 4 years. The hospitality sector of the company will head hotels in France, Marrakesh, Morocco, and is planning on managing developments also in Bali, Budapest and Istanbul by the year 2014. The company also has its sights set on China, according to the CEO, Mark Dardenne, where the group will act as a management company on behalf of the hotel's owners. The company is looking at 8 to 10% growth this year compared to last. The Gulf region is expected to see strong growth this year, led by the UAE, Saudi Arabia and Qatar, according to financial services company Shua Capital. According to Shua, infrastructure investments and the recovery within the private sector will drive growth in these 3 countries, as well as the current oil price, which plays well into oil companies' revenues. Public sector infrastructure spending is set to play the most significant role in the region's expansion for this year, along with credit growth. Experts say credit conditions should begin to improve this year off the back of Dubai World's debt restructuring, with private sector credit growth forecast to rise by 9.4% this year. The 2-day Abu Dhabi Innovation Forum has begun with a series of speakers and workshops showcasing techniques on how to improve business communications to allow further advancement in organization across the United Arab Emirates. Caroline Fernandez stopped by the event to find out what exactly innovation is and what it means for the UAE.
The Abu Dhabi Innovation Forum features international and local speakers with experience implementing change and new development in their organization. James Graham has been working with AIM in organizing the event.
Well, this is the second Abu Dhabi Innovation Forum. We held the first one last January. And moving on from there, we're talking now about innovation within organizations as opposed to invention or entrepreneurship. So how do we move ideas through organizations? How do we move those organizations forward structurally? How do we create something called an innovation ecosystem? And so a lot of our speakers and the companies that are talking have reflected what they're doing and what those frameworks to take innovation into organizations in this region are all about.
Business owners, entrepreneurs, and management teams learn about the trials and successes of speakers while getting tips on how to tackle their own organization issues. The event consists of interactive workshops, panels, and question and answer periods regarding challenges faced in the workplace and how to motivate management on taking the innovative route.
Out of our work in the region, MENA region, from Morocco to Bahrain, we have met a lot of organizations, and yes, as you said, all of them have a misunderstanding about innovation. They are treating innovation either as a too complex issue, something not for us, as they say, or something that is they are not capable of. But basically, actually, I tell all of those organizations, it's much simpler than that. We say that innovation is basically about some genuine new idea and just to bring a value from it. It could serve something, a very huge change in the organization, or serve a very small, like cost saving within the organization. But all of them are innovation.
The importance of change and exploring new ideas is highlighted at this forum. The UAE is already making its mark in this creative revolution, as we learned today.
You need to look at the speed at which this country moves forward. 39 years ago, there was no UAE. 4 years ago, where we're standing was still the sand. So if you talk about just the basic development of creating infrastructure, this is an innovation in itself. Some of the companies that you can see in Abu Dhabi that have been developed over the last 5 years, Abu Dhabi University, Mubadala, Etihad, Albar, these are all companies that have come in, they're innovative, they're new, they're trying to create a diversified economy in the UAE. And within itself, an innovation doesn't have to be the creation of Google. An innovation is a progression.
It's leading many or most of the regional countries. That's clear for everybody. But actually, we have to compare it with the international markets, international places to really judge it in the right way. There are areas where maybe the UAE have even past many other countries internationally, let's say, for example, in the tourism level or whatever. But I still believe that the space is very big for innovation in other areas, okay, which means doing something that others have not done it yet, and UAE can do it and become, let's say, the next pioneer in that area.
If you want to be innovative, you have to loosen your tie a bit. That's what Michael Kingdon said today in his talk at the ADIF, and just about sums up the goal of this event. Caroline Fernandez, 7 National News.
And for a detailed market analysis, we're now joined by Anil Sajdev. He's the head of DGCX operations at ASEAN Middle East. Hi there. Positive economic sentiment has kept most of the Asian markets in green territory today, despite fears the Chinese government may soon tighten its monetary policy. Can the upcoming US GDP report and reports on increased consumer confidence maybe offset the Chinese tightening concerns?
This question has arisen after last week we saw Chinese GDP grew 9.8% while inflation levels were unchanged at 4.6%, and also jobless claims were reduced from the US and housing markets improved. These two news were very strong news for the global economic recovery, seeing that US is recovering, Asian markets are improving strongly, but there were also strong concerns that this faster GDP growth in China could lead to more inflation levels, and Chinese government will have to take more tightening policy measures to control the economy. This week we have GDP report from the US where it's expected 3.5% growth against the last quarter's 2.6% growth, as well as consumer confidence rising to 54.3, more than 53.2 level last week. This news could offset Chinese tightening policy measure concerns that The US is leading the economic growth of the world, and the dollar strength could move the markets on the lower side. But on the other hand, the Asian markets could also continue moving stronger, thus reducing the impact of the Chinese tightening policies.
The Federal Reserve will hold its monetary policy meeting this week. In recent weeks, U.S. central bank policymakers said that improvements in the economy still didn't justify scaling back plans to purchase $600 billion in bonds. What are your expectations concerning the outcome of the meeting?
We are expecting the Fed to keep the interest rates on hold at 0.25%, the QE2 measures at $600 billion, which will be moving through towards expiry in June, and also working on any steps where they are looking towards possible review of adding another stimulus measure of $600 billion by end of second quarter. Now, President Obama is going to speak at a State of Union speech tomorrow, where his main focus will be on cutting deficit, improving unemployment levels, and making the economy more competitive. The main concern for the Fed to increase rates or to keep the quantitative easing programs at these levels would be the higher unemployment levels and the lower inflation levels. As far as these concerns are there strongly in the economy, and they are making continuous efforts to fight unemployment levels, bringing down to 5 to 6% threshold, which the Fed sees as comfortable. We could see the interest rate hikes being pushed all the way to first quarter of 2012, and we expect the interest rates to remain unchanged throughout the year. But also, President Bernanke of the Fed, he might talk on the possible outcome of the increasing the quantitative easing program by end of June, and what are the views on the economy and any signs taken to control the unemployment levels.
Thank you, Anil.
Thank you.
And in our fast financial news, the UAE's Ministry of Foreign Trade is to host an annual investment meeting to attract foreign direct investment and to improve trade cooperation. The meeting is to be held in May this year. The event will be a platform for investors to meet and discuss perspectives and ongoing projects in the region. The annual investment meeting will focus on emerging markets while also identifying opportunities in fast-growing economic sectors for sustainable development. Meanwhile, non-oil foreign trade has been forecast to grow by up to 25% this year, according to Abdullah Al-Saleh, the Director General at the Foreign Trade Ministry. New links to Asian and African markets is set to boost this growth, depending on the pace of the global recovery and potential external shocks. And Dubai is set to become one of the auction centers of the world for rare luxury watches. According to London-based Christie's auction house, sales have risen by 42% since 2008, where two Dubai auctions saw $2.5 million in sales. The next scheduled auction will be held in April. Well, that's it from the business desk. You can contact us at news@city7tv.com. Up next, Laura Buckwell is back with the news.